Welcome, everybody, to episode 107. 107 of these, Malik. Do you know which number you were when you came on a couple years back?
I must have been like one of the first few.
I think
like
you
maybe
were.
like 10 or 11.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I think you were around 10 or 11. But a lot's changed.
Oh, yeah.
We're no longer in the basement.
Nope.
We have a little bit of a different studio. We got different mics. We got different cameras. We got different technology. I can look directly at you. We don't have to be looking side to side anymore. It's a lot's changed.
It's awesome.
But a lot's changed. But in the same sense, not much has changed.
Same old.
Same old issues. I'm having you on for a similar reason.
Yep.
Because first of all, it's a great excuse to get someone like you, like that I don't get to talk to that much, back on. I love to find like what people know a lot about, and then use that as an excuse to constantly keep in touch. Because otherwise, like, who knows when the next time I talk to you again is. But also, there's a lot going on in the present media that we want to talk about. 100%. And I'm going to turn it over to you as someone that can explain yourself. And then I just want you to say, like, I guess who you are, where you're from, and what your perspective is.
Yeah.
And then we can ride.
All right. Awesome. So I'm Malik, obviously. Born and raised in Medford. Known you how long have I known you for? Geez, since at
forever.
Least second grade, baby.
It feels like forever. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm Palestinian American. All right. My parents came here in the 90s during one of the first sort of uprisings where it got super violent. So they came here. I still have a lot of family back home. And we'll definitely get into the different regions of
for sure
where everything's happening. Just graduated college back in August, so that was fun.
Mm-hmm. So where did you graduate from?
Wentworth.
Yeah. Right. Oh yeah.
Now I'm
super genius.
Yeah, I'm stuck in the Matrix now.
Stuck in the Matrix. Oh my.
Working the 9 to 5.
Yeah. At least we both graduated though. We did it.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think a lot of teachers thought we'd do it when we were interrupting class.
Miss Lepori, Senora Diaz.
Yeah.
Senora Diaz definitely.
Did not think that we'd be good.
Dr. Brandel definitely thought I was going to be a failure. She was my chem teacher.
They're all wrong. They didn't know you though, Malik.
No,
I always said that.
Under all that sleeping and everything, I was, I had something going on.
Very intelligent person. Very.
But like you said, nothing has changed. It's the same old cycle, and it's going to keep repeating. All right. This is. I'm talking about the wars and everything that's going on in Palestine and Israel. Yeah. Right. So. Let's start off with the basics, right? You got Palestine, right? Here's the shape of it.
Yes.
Right.
You had that chain on.
I've had it forever, man.
It's a beautiful.
And thank you. There's a small sliver that borders the Mediterranean and Egypt. It's called the Gaza Strip. It houses 2.1 million people. 50% are under the age of 18, and it's smaller than Manhattan, right? And then there's the West Bank. The West Bank borders Jordan, right? Within the West Bank, there's 3 areas, Area A, B, and C. And I forgot which areas it is, but basically it's like Area A is under 100% Palestinian control. Area B is like Palestinian and Israeli controlled, so 50-50. Mm-hmm. Area C is total Israeli control. But there's still Palestinians living in there. They just sort of restrict who goes in and who goes out.
Right.
Within the West Bank, so within all 3 of those areas, there are settlements, Israeli settlements, right? And then there's the whole, in the middle, there's like the rest, everything else outside of the West Bank is Israel, right?
Yep.
So let's say your house is the West Bank, right? Let's say some person comes into your bathroom, sets up shop, gets a bed, starts living in there. That's a settlement.
Right.
They settled in your house, which is still technically your area, but that small sliver of land, that belongs to them now.
Okay.
And there's nothing you can do about it because you'll just get killed.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
So here's what happened. Back in 2006, the West Bank has a certain government. They're called the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization. They're more, friendly with the West, more better terms with the Israelis, in the UN, all that stuff. So they're very diplomatic.
A little more, politically correct of a group.
In Gaza, the Gaza Strip, which is on the other side, you got Hamas, Hamas, which is actually an abbreviation. A lot of people don't know that.
I saw that it was all capitals when I was doing some minor research. I saw it was all. Do you know what it stands for? Is it relevant?
It's in Arabic. The abbreviation is like the same, Hamas. I forgot what it actually stands for.
Yeah.
But it actually translates perfectly to like the same exact letters.
Oh wow, what are those?
But yeah, so there's Hamas, right? Think of it as like the Republican government or something, right? I'm just Democrats on this side, Republicans on this side, Republicans.
Yeah, so the PLO, Hamas.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So you got Hamas. They have their militant wing, and a lot of people get this super wrong. So Hamas isn't like the military; it's just the actual government. Right? Okay. They have their own military wing. These are just getting more into the specifics. It's like they got a bunch of them. There's like Al-Qassam brigades and Azadin brigades and a bunch of other brigades, right? Which is like their military wing. Basically, what happened was last Saturday, Hamas launched an insanely coordinated surprise attack on Israel. The way they did it, the way they executed the whole thing, just shocked the whole world. Even I was shocked. Everyone I knew was shocked.
Yeah.
Right. Because
I was just mind if I
go ahead.
So, I've heard a lot about how shocking this was. Yeah. And there's a bunch of thoughts on this, but what was, I guess, there's two ways that this could be shocking. Mm-hmm. One way is it being, how is it possible that they could pull this off? Like, not thinking they were capable of it. Like, in a sense of, like, in the Hamas sense. Like, how did they do that?
Exactly.
And then, but the other version of the shock is, so you is like assuming that they're not capable and being like, how did they let that happen?
Exactly.
So which shock, is it like a little bit of both? Is it like, how did they pull that off, but why did that happen? Is it like is it just such a shell shock that you can't even like figure it out?
It's insane because it's a little bit of both, like you said. The way they executed it was just, I hate to say the word, but it was genius, right? So, and I'll tell you why. It's because Israel has a smart wall, right? Remember when Trump was blabbing about his border wall with Mexico? They actually have a wall that surrounds the whole Gaza Strip.
Oh, really?
It's a smart wall with sensors, unmanned, automated machine guns. So if anybody gets close, he'll get shot. Because nobody's allowed in or out. It's an open-air prison, right? And we'll get into that in a little.
Interesting.
They have an underground concrete wall that goes down an undisclosed amount, right? So you can't, dig under it. They have, regular border patrols. Half their army is there. It's insane. Wow. Right?
Okay.
But the way that Hamas got over the fence was using paragliders. Right?
Yeah, I heard about this. Wasn't there like a party?
Yeah, there was a festival.
Paraglided
in, right? Which was just
wow.
How do you even think of that?
That's so crazy. Scary.
And then once they got over that and overran the Israeli bases, the outposts that were on the border, they overran it. They took it over and allowed the other reinforcements to break through the fence with bulldozers, and everybody just started spewing it.
Wow.
Right. From there, the war began. Current rates for Israeli death toll is around 1,400, right? Which is the most since the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Right. And usually between skirmishes between the Israelis and Hamas, there's always going to be a lot more Palestinian deaths, right? Yeah. And that's also another thing we have to get into.
Yeah.
But on the Israeli side, there will only be 10 deaths, maybe 50 deaths at max, and a few injuries here and there. So having 1,500 dead within one day is just baffling. On top of that, we'll go to the other point. How did the Israelis let that happen?
Yeah.
Right. You have the most sophisticated security system in terms of CIA. They have their own version.
I was gonna say physical or intelligence.
Sort of both. They have they're tapped into the phones of Hamas. With surveillance. Their security agency, their own version of the CIA, the FBI. They have their own super secretive. They'll tap into anything, right? They helped develop the Stuxnet virus, which took out Iran's nuclear program. So you obviously have some sense of their capabilities.
Yeah.
You have trained. The whole country is trained for war. There's a conscription-based draft system thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't their countrymen or their army?
Exactly.
Okay.
So everybody's required to serve, and this is actual Western training with Western weapons, advisors, technology, versus a group of a group that has AK-47s, no Air Force, no Navy, nothing. So, and for them to breach through the border in Gaza, and attack and go so far deep into your territory and to take out high-level commanders and do so much is, how do you guys not see that coming?
Yeah, it's I heard a example. I've been listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
And I heard someone say, it's obviously there's not the years and years of conflict behind it, but imagine if Mexico just like
exactly
came in and was messing up American like Texas or New Mexico, like an area that like used to be theirs or whatever, and then like got away with it and like did it. It's like we wouldn't even be able to fathom how that's possible. Just so much superior in every way, at least perceived.
Yeah.
And or maybe it's like, what other reason could there be?
Exactly.
So there's more to that, but it's just to give like that was a good like connection for me, being like, all right, well, how impossible really was it? They're like, well, imagine if Mexico bombed El Paso. Yeah. It's like, what?
And imagine we had like a crazy border wall. From
imagine Trump got his wall, and then a week later they were like, yeah, here we go. Paragliding in. Crazy.
It's insane how they pulled it off and didn't even see it coming. And we found out later that there were U.S. intelligence reports that Hamas was actually planning something. The Egyptian president, their intelligence services, sort of notified the Israelis that Hamas was also planning something. So from here, we sort of dive into like conspiracy theories of, did Israel allow it to happen in order to invade Gaza and just basically massacre Hamas, the government? Yeah. So, like I said, that's more of like the conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not confirmed, but
I'm all in on conspiracies. I love hearing them. Not that I'm all in on like that's the facts. Like I would never say to someone that's a fact, but I love hearing them because the frequency at which they're like, like you can't just never doubt anything.
Yeah.
You have to put some doubt in the air, and so that no one can just be crazy and go unchecked like a guy like Netanyahu. Like you can't like. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But, like, you need to ask the question because there's totally a valid question to be asked.
And to add to that, Netanyahu, he was losing support in his party and the country. There were mass protests against him, right? I think half the country at one point was protesting against him.
Yeah.
Reservists were ripping up their draft cards saying they don't want to serve under Netanyahu. So, the conspiracy theory is, did Netanyahu allow it to happen to sort of reunite Israel? So, that's...
Which is the similar conspiracy theory to 9/11 with us. It's like, how did that happen? Well, and if you ask my dad to this day, when is the most united you've ever seen the country? He'd say the year following 9/11.
Yep.
It's like a way to bring people together in a sick way. Who know? And again, like, unlikely that would be like the way that people want to go about things, but that's. Like, in a world where crazy stuff can happen, you just need to ask the question. It needs to be on the table. You can't, like, just sweep these things under the rug. Mm-hmm. It's not fair to, like, the people that pass. It's not fair to a lot of innocent. And a lot of, like, it's not just people that pass. Like, people that have to go through all the trauma. Like, people that are living beyond it. Like, that's really who's, like, struggling right now. So, continue. I don't know if I interrupted you.
No. That was sort of the end of it. So, that's... Going back to the main point, first they pulled off a crazy sophisticated attack. Secondly, how did the Israelis not see it coming? So, like I said, the death toll right now from the Israeli side is 1,500. 4 hours later, on that same day, they started launching airstrikes into Gaza, right? This is where it gets sort of like bloody and deadly. I think right now the Palestinian death toll is 3,000. Right.
Again,
more than double the Israelis, which I'd say at least a crap ton are civilians.
Okay.
Right? And it's just been constant bombing. To put into perspective, the Israelis have dropped more missiles in 1 week than the U.S. did against ISIS in a year.
Really?
Right. And obviously think of the comparison between sizes. So imagine Gaza, the size of Manhattan, versus a country of Afghanistan. 1 week versus a whole year.
Yeah.
Amount of bombs dropped, right? And it's, this is sort of, this is like indiscriminate bombs, right?
Yes.
Just dropping missiles. And imagine 2 million people in the size of Manhattan, right? It's just messed up.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of especially like indiscriminate like that, because like you almost can't be discriminate in such a small area. You just drop like it's all kind of just as dense. It's a really densely packed area, and it's like, oh, hello, got a little bit of issues. Oh no, we're good. So just to give people some perspective too on like Israel Palestine, like how like the size of this country is like New Jersey. It's like a little bit bigger than New Jersey. Like maybe like am I wrong?
I think it's definitely a lot smaller. Actually.
Smaller than New Jersey. Yeah. Like that. Really. So it's like
this whole country is probably smaller than New Jersey. Gaza's
even small.
It's smaller than Manhattan.
Yeah. So it's like we're talking a very small. I mean, obviously, like it fit like plenty of people, but a very small area is like where all this is going on.
Yeah.
Like, the ramifications are like very like tangible for everyone living.
Yeah.
It's not like someone's safe in Gaza right now. There's no one safe in Gaza.
No.
And I feel like that's like it's even smaller. Wow, like I didn't even know. I had no idea. Like
you can see Manhattan in one. If you take a photo from up high, you'll see all of Manhattan. It's the same thing for Gaza.
Yeah. So, you personally, what is like? Is there any impact with you, with your family? Like, is your family okay? Like, is everything...
Yeah, my family is in the West Bank.
Okay.
So that side right now is somewhat safe.
Okay.
Obviously, there's settlements there. There's raids every night. The same day it happened, the Israeli forces sort of like came down from their settlements and went into the cities surrounding the settlement. They killed like 2 kids from my village. I didn't know them personally. I'm sure people knew them.
Yeah.
But just overnight, they killed another 7 throughout like the whole West Bank. So they shot one kid right in the head, 16-year-old kid. When their dad went to go get the body, they shot the dad. Right? Mm-hmm. So, as you can see, it's sort of like it's messed up.
Yeah.
And, people want to ask, like, okay, why is this all happening? Right?
Yeah.
And you can spend hours trying to explain the whole thing from start to finish.
Yeah, right.
Maybe some little background, actually. So, World War II ended, right? People, the Jews, they didn't want to be in Europe, obviously, because of the Holocaust and all the atrocities committed against them. So where are we going to put them? We're going to welcome them to, it was called the British Mandate of Palestine, because the British Empire still controlled it at the time.
Yep.
So we put them in Palestine. A bunch of wars happened. The Israelis, they started taking the land to what it is now today.
Yeah.
Right? This is after like multiple wars.
Yeah.
I think it was like 3 or 4. At the same time, now we're in the present day. You have in Gaza specifically, like I said, open air prison. Nobody's allowed in. Nobody's allowed out. There is a certain mile in the ocean to where fishers can actually go. If they go past that sort of blockade, the Israeli Navy will shoot them.
So why is that?
That's just how Israelis do it.
That's just how it is. Like
it's a blockade, yeah.
In Gaza specifically.
Yep.
It's just like basically it's just like an open air prison. You're just kind of allowed to do what you want, but on your grounds.
Yeah.
Not allowed to leave.
Not allowed to leave. I mean, you can go through like there's 2 borders, one with Israel. Some people that work, some Gazans, I guess, that work in Israel have special permits that allow them to go in and out. Mm-hmm. But obviously, you have to go through a pretty hard process to get that. And it's only a select few.
So as you were just geographically, like the West Bank, Gaza, like where would it be?
Yeah, so you got the West Bank over here, bordering Jordan.
Yep.
Syria, right, closer to Saudi Arabia on that side. Then you got Israel right in the middle, right, and then you got a small sliver of land bordering Egypt, Sinai Peninsula, just a tiny bit, and the Mediterranean Ocean.
Okay, all right. I can like see it now. So what do you feel? I guess like now to get more, because you've given us a very logical, like open answer feeling, but or not even feeling, just facts. You've given us a lot of facts. Like personally, like, what do you feel in terms of like living here? Like obviously here, 90% of people here are calling the country Israel. You know, like there's there's like a subconscious backing of Israel for people that are here, and never really thought about it. Like me, I grew up with you, which is like one of the greatest benefits of my life, because I've always called you Palestinian because you called yourself Palestinian. So for me, I like referred to it as Palestine my whole life. I just always have. So is there like a weird, I guess like a conflicting feeling? Is there like some anger? What do you feel like from over here?
It's not usually anger. In terms of if somebody says Israel, right? I'm not gonna flip my shiz and go crazy.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't even say anything, right? If it's, one person saying it just for, if it's mentioned somewhere, then okay, whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of people just don't know, right? And that's just how they were raised. For example, like, we were raised together.
Mm-hmm.
You've known me forever, so you know what Palestine is.
Yes.
I'm Palestinian. A lot of people don't know that, or they don't have any friends that are Palestinian or even Arab at that point. So, when somebody says Israel, it's just like, okay, maybe they just don't know.
Yep.
Right? And I don't want to spend like 2 hours trying to explain
everything
from start to finish.
Yeah.
If somebody's Israeli, okay, they're Israeli, right? I'm not going to say, oh, Israel doesn't exist. Right? I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
Right? I had a coworker. I used to work at Raytheon. Right? I had a coworker who was Israeli. I was like, oh, I'm Palestinian. And there was another guy in the office. He's like, all right, don't fight now.
That's such a sick joke. That's so sick.
And it's just, I didn't. Like, all right, cool. You're Israeli. I'm Palestinian. Nice.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's like, there's been. Again, I did a little bit of research, but I've heard that there were times, maybe even like in the 1800s, whenever, where there was like majority of Palestinians in the area, but there was like coexistence.
Yeah, at some point.
At some points, like nothing's ever perfect, but like some coexistence at times when there was majority, when it was like considered Palestine, or maybe before that time, I guess. And
Jews have been in the region.
Yeah.
Jews, Christians, Muslims, they all live in Jerusalem. I mean, it's a holy site for all three religions.
This is another thing. This is a little bit more of like a softer point I wanted to get on with you. Like, what's up with this place? Like, how is it?
Like, it's insane.
It's the center of the world.
Yep.
In a lot of ways, like it's the three major religions, correct? Are all of our major holy sites. Jesus was born and died. There's many other
the
things.
prophet,
the rock,
peace be upon him, he ascended to the heavens from that.
Descended to heavens from
Muslims
that.
used to pray in that direction back in the day. Now we pray towards Mecca and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
It's the third holiest site in Islam, right? So you got the Jews have their Temple Mount, or I'm not sure what significance they have, but they have something there.
Yeah.
I know they have the wall. The Western Wall or the Eastern Wall, one of them.
Yeah.
Something wall that they worship.
Yep.
Or do something. I'm not an expert on Judaism, but they
you're
have something there. The Christians have the birthplace of Jesus. The Muslims have that. So it's three world religions.
All in this one small little place. I just don't really understand, one, like how that's even possible.
Yep.
And then also, the fact that the Christians aren't as involved in this, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that would be, me knowing what Christians are throughout history. It's pretty new, as opposed to the other two.
Yeah.
But my thought process is like, because of our calendar is based on like Christian religion's like the most, like, maybe not the widest spread anymore. I think it's Islam at this point. Like,
Islam is like the second largest religion. It's getting up there.
Yeah, it's getting up there. It might even have more people than, but like Christianity.
Time to come to the dark side, damn.
Yeah, dude. Hey, I'm down. I gotta learn. That's another thing I gotta learn about is like the religions themselves.
Yeah.
Because I'm not even like Christian. Like I don't even know what to believe anymore. I don't know if many people really do with like the amount that we have access to information, and like where science is at and where technology is at. What's your like religious views as of right now? Like being in the world, and also you're like a big tech guy, which a lot of times those don't always mesh, which is funny. But like
I mean, I'm Muslim.
Yep.
So I pray 5 times a day. I fast Ramadan.
Yes. I remember you fasting during school.
Dude, during school it was so tough.
That's the worst. I remember you were so tired, bro, and then teachers on your back. I'm like, dude.
I had to be sleeping in class, and the teachers are trying to wake me up. I'm like, bro, let me sleep, man.
Let me sleep. Like, just because you don't got to do this doesn't mean I don't,
So, I've definitely, actually, personally, I've gotten a lot closer to Islam over
the
last year and a half or so.
Any reason?
It's no specific reason. It's just like, I just, some calling.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, right?
I remember I had, you remember Wade Desir?
Yeah, I saw that reel.
I had him on
YouTube.
And he said, like, obviously God is God is God, but different God, but he said that there was like a veil. Yeah. Like he was sitting on his bed one day and it just like hit him. Yep. And he was like, I have to strengthen that relationship. Yeah. Is there like a similar feeling for you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Just like maybe not as all at once, but
it sort of came over time, right? So I started getting closer to God, and like I knew everything from Arabic school and Islamic school and everything, but I was never like super practicing. Mm-hmm. But I definitely started getting a lot more religious, learning more about the actual religion, stuff to do, how to be a good Muslim, right? Mm-hmm. That means like no less swearing, which I'm sort of working on. Yeah. No backbiting, no gossiping, halal income, so not taking any haram money. So obviously if you're like a drug dealer,
you don't want to say that's haram. Yeah. I've heard that so much.
It means forbidden.
That's forbidden. Yeah. Like that's not good. That's forbidden. That's not. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Drinking alcohol, haram.
Haram.
Eating pork, haram.
I love haram. Haram is sick. It's a sick way to put it. Yeah. It's like that's not good.
And then you have the halal, which is permissible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So haram and halal, they're completely the opposites of one.
Yeah. So why is that just like how these things are classified?
Yeah. So basically, it's like if God or the Prophet said that this was haram, then we follow it. For example, we don't eat bacon.
Right.
Or pigs in general. They're haram. Why? Because within the actual pig, they eat like the actual pig itself is disgusting.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
I've never tasted it, so I don't know how it tastes.
You never had bacon?
I had turkey bacon.
Yeah, it's close enough. That plays.
Yeah,
that plays.
So, God or the Prophet, I forgot who said it, but they said the pigs, they eat like trash.
They do.
Whatever they eat is just disgusting. You don't want to put that in your body. Same thing with alcohol. It destroys your liver. Don't drink alcohol. It also changes your mind. Makes you do like dumb stuff. So don't touch it.
I don't drink, Malik. So really? maybe
it's time, Dan.
I'm on the road. Maybe I'm on the road. Maybe I gotta take a trip to Mecca.
I might go next year.
So. I was gonna say, is that something on your
It's something on my mind. I was hoping to go in December, but prices are just crazy high.
It seems like the most incredible place. Yeah. Like. Just religion is like, it's so sad for me because I haven't had that moment yet. I'm very open to having like some God speak to me at some point. Yep. Obviously preferably it's my Christian God because I know stuff about that. Like I know what's going on. I'm very open to it, but it's just like it's just not happening. Like maybe I'm not searching good enough or whatever because it's such an amazing and beautiful thing and it inspires so many people. And it brings people to the point of like even bad things, like this whole conflict is like rooted in these things. But like it's rooted in like passion, and the fact that it can drive that much passion. Yeah. Also, this conflict as it stands today, how much of it feels religion?
I'd say very little of it is actually religion.
Yeah, right? It used to be the entire.
I mean, a long time ago, you had like the conqueror of Jerusalem and. I forgot who conquered it. I'm throwing a random name. Salahuddin probably conquered it or something. So it's nowadays it's a lot less religion, more just politics, right? Because we have in Palestine, you don't have just Muslims. We also have Christian Palestinians. Right. Right. Like I've seen, there's churches in Palestine. There's churches in Gaza too, right? So it's not religious, right? We don't hate Jews. I don't hate Jews.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course not.
I don't hate Christians either. I mean, my grandma lives next to a bunch of Christians, right? Jews, I did an interfaith event with my mosque in the Temple Israel in Boston, so it's not a anti-Semitic thing, right? It's just an Israeli-Palestinian thing.
Yeah.
And it's Israel launching raids into the West Bank, and there's no Hamas in the West Bank, right? So why are you going to the West Bank and just shooting the place up?
Yeah.
Right. Why are you raiding it? Well, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
In Gaza, you have a blockade on the people. You have a blockade on land. They don't have an international airport, so you can't fly out. All humanitarian aid is coming through Egypt. So when you have a bunch of people just stuffed in a tiny box with no access to electricity back, normal times before this war happened was only 4 hours a day. Right.
Really?
Yeah. 4 hours a day. Now there's no electricity. They cut it off.
Wow.
They control the water too. So when you have limited access to water, electricity, food, careers, right, or even education, obviously people are going to get mad, right? Yeah. And you know, you can sort of, people like to blame it on Hamas. Okay, this is Hamas. The government is doing this to you. Okay, that's one argument. But the second argument, right, is the Israelis are also doing it to you, right? So if you're a Palestinian and, you know, you're going up, you've been through, let's say you were born in 2008. You were born in a war, right? 2012, another war. 2014, another war, right? 2021, another war. That was the last podcast that we had. 2023, another war. So you've been through 5 wars already, right? So what is that? You're 10. I'm bad at math. You're like 12 now or something?
Yeah, you're about, if you're born, what'd you say, 08?
08.
You're like 15.
Yeah,
15.
So let's say you're 15 now and you've already spent your life in 5 wars. You have no hopes in life because you don't have college, right? You have no food, no electricity, no water. The suicide rates are crazy over there.
That's another interesting part, like the mental fatigue.
Yeah.
Of
you've been through 5 wars, and how are you going to live with your life, right? And you know, you're growing up, and the only world power that's attacking you is Israel, right? So you know, it sort of makes sense why people are so mad. You've been through 5 wars, you're going through the shiz, and everybody's just, you know, what are you going to do with your life?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, back to the main point. It's not a religious war. It's just a politics. What do they call it? Political war, I guess.
Yeah, like I guess, yeah, political war. It's definitely hard to put into like words. It's hard to like for like a media outlet to like release this type of thing. I feel like there was a massive turn of the steering wheel in the media since when I first texted you.
Yep.
When I first texted you, it seemed like it was going to be like another one of these moments where like the Palestinians kind of get their name muddied. And I was like really nervous about that. I was nervous because a lot of people don't realize that, like, you know, it's like Palestinians does not mean Hamas. Yeah. It's not at all. It's not the same.
Literally, like I said earlier, it's two different
separate things. And then same thing with like, you know, a leader like Netanyahu does not mean the Israeli people. Yeah. That is not what that means. Yep. You know? And I feel like for the first time, like in my life, the media actually has done a decent job because they've had to turn the steering wheel so much. They showed a side, and now they're showing another side. Yeah. And I feel like we're actually getting decent debate on Israeli-Palestinian like conflict for the first time, like in my life. Like, I mean, the last time I felt like it was very like negative, and I was like, well, why are we so one side? Yeah. Nowadays, I feel like I saw a poll on one of the news networks that I don't trust. It was like, I think it was like 40% of people were like, I am empathizing with even like Hamas, which is like crazy. At least people are like listening. Yeah. You know, they're listening. Have you noticed that this time around?
A little bit.
A little bit. More so than typical.
Thing is, for me, it's, you know, majority of my friends are Muslim. They're Arab, so they already picked a side.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
You know, they know me. They're either probably Egyptian or from any Muslim country, so they're gonna be Palestinian fans.
Yes.
Right. So in the media, I sort of noticed a lot more people, especially on Twitter, that are, you know, sort of showing both sides now. Okay, what Hamas did was wrong, but why did they do that? Yeah. Right.
And then what are we doing? What is this fallout now?
Okay, like, maybe Israel has a right to defend itself, but to what extent? Because the way you're looking at it, you have a small amount of Hamas members that are dead, and you have 3,000 confirmed dead Palestinians in Gaza. So, you know, it's nice to see that there's you know, more people on both sides that are actually like showing both sides. Yes. Instead of just like a one-sided thing, right? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people, okay, you know, if you're Palestinian, you're a terrorist. Seriously?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Do I have a suicide vest on? No, I don't.
I don't think so.
I'm born and raised in America.
Yeah.
You know, great country. Yeah. I mean, when I compare myself to, people in Palestine, I feel blessed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does it give you like a sense of appreciation?
It gives me a sense of appreciation.
Sometimes it's hard to have here,
and it makes me sad sometimes.
Yeah.
Right, because when in 2021, when I went, I took my cousin to a high-end restaurant in Palestine, and they had automatic water sinks, right? And he pulled out his phone and started recording it. I was like, "Geez, what are you recording?" And he's telling me, "Look at the sink. He doesn't have to flip a switch or anything. He just puts his hand under it and it comes out." We had those in like McGlynn Middle School.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this kid is like 16. It's like
you can find that at an Applebee's.
Yeah.
Like,
You can find it in like the most bum gas station in the middle of bum F nowhere.
You just,
And this 16-year-old is the first time he's seen something like that. It's crazy. And that specific moment really puts stuff into perspective for me.
Yeah.
We take so much stuff here for granted that they don't even have back there. And when they see it, they're just amazed.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
Was just asking, like, do you feel like a deeper sense of it?
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess, like, not to like toot America's horn,
Yeah.
like, but sometimes when stuff like this is happening, I just like think I'm like, all right, listen, I haven't liked a president since Obama, but just in terms of like person, like I like the person. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not very politically involved. Obviously, anyone that's listening to my podcast knows I know basically nothing, kind of. But I like having a good representative as like a person, like a voice that I can like get behind, in the same way that I like a leader of my company. Like, my company has a pretty charismatic leader, even though I don't love the way that like they want me to do my job. I love the person. I'll do it exactly like they said. And it's the same way with a president. I haven't loved it. And then in the same sense, I definitely don't like any of the other branches we got, where like you can be 9,000 years old, Mitch McConnell freezing in the middle of a press conference. I don't like that either. And then I look around, I see all the homelessness, and I'm like, this sucks too. And like in like LA, like there's so much homelessness, it's insane. It's like, why is this happening? The border crisis, and I'm looking around like this place sucks. And then something like this happens. Yeah. To people, like obviously. Any of the Israeli people, you're like, oh man, like when it first happens, like no, 1,500, like what? And then you hear, what did you say, 3,000?
3,000 now,
of Palestinians. You're like, oh no, like, there's just people fighting and they're above you, and you're just under, waiting to like either die or like just praying you're not in the wrong spot. Yeah, and thank God we don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, thank God. We, like you said, we see homelessness, we see border crisis, we see dumb politicians, but at the same time, you don't have bombs dropping over your head. You don't have to worry if you're gonna live to see the next day. It's like that makes me sad, right? Why do I get to have a blessed life while my countrymen, family members are under occupation? My sister-in-law's family has family in Gaza. One of my best friends has family in Gaza. I know a lot of people that have family and friends in Gaza. So it's just sad to see that. And like, to go back to another point, this has been going on for 70-something years, right? And I'll tell you why. Remember that 2008 scenario where you're born in 2008?
Yes.
Let's say you're born 2000. Let's say you're born in 2000.
Yeah.
2008, your sister gets killed in an airstrike, right? That's going to traumatize you. Yeah. That's going to make you mad. Who dropped that airstrike? Israel.
Yep.
Right? So once you get older, you're going to want to finally fight back, right? And that cycle keeps repeating. So let's say, you're born in 2000. Let's say your brother was born in 2010. Let's say you die in 2023, right? Your brother's going to remember that.
Yep.
And that cycle is just going to keep continuing, and it's never going to end.
Yeah. I was just going to say, so this one, everyone says this when anything happens, but this time, just due to death totals alone, feels different. Yeah. Is it different?
On the Israeli side, it's very, very different, right? Like I said, 1,500 Israelis, that number we haven't seen since the Holocaust, right? Even if any other, major wars, it's only been 100 or so, right? On the Palestinian side, it's always been in the thousands. 2014 was 2,000 people. 2008 was another few thousand. So it's not 3,000 Palestinians dead. I mean, for me, it's not a shock.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're just so desensitized to it. This is like, We expected this. Even when that attack that Hamas initiated on last Saturday. In my head, all I'm thinking is, okay, the retaliation is going to be much, much worse. And, you know, there's rumors that there's going to be a ground invasion into Gaza tonight. I mean, they've been saying that for the week, but I think it's going to happen eventually. And that's going to be even more deadly. So it's just never-ending cycle of violence. It's just going to keep going, keep going, keep going.
I wonder what the, like, because, you know, obviously the Palestinian response has been very similar, and it's like you get desensitized to this, and like this is just par for the course again for you guys. But since it is so different for, you know, the group in power, like now they, like, say they were like okay with a strike of some sort by Hamas, maybe they weren't thinking 1,500. Maybe in their mind they were like, you know, we lose a couple hundred again. Yeah. We fit, you know, and then we can go in, and then they got hit.
It's like, possible. Like, and that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, they just killed, you know, 1,500 Israelis.
There's no way they wanted that.
Like back in 2012 or 2013, or I think it was 2014 actually. Hamas kidnapped and killed 3 Israeli teenagers, right? Israel's response was a whole ground invasion into Gaza, right? So if you knew that Israel was going to invade you over the deaths of 3 Israeli teenagers, then you must know that they're going to do a lot worse if you kill 1,500 of them. Right. So in my head, I'm thinking, I'm like, do they have something planned that we don't know about? Are they trying to get a ground invasion? What's going on?
What are your thoughts on Hamas? Like, obviously, you know, you don't want to see people die. That's baseline. No one wants to see anybody die, be tortured, or lose family members.
100%.
That is always the goal for normal fucking people.
Yeah.
Then there's crazy people that, you know, want people to die. Like on any side of any war, any conflict ever. There's crazy people, and then there's everyone else in the middle that doesn't want anybody to die.
Yeah.
So, but what were your thoughts as, like, you know, you hear about this the day of, and you're thinking, like, what do you thoughts on Hamas? Like, before any retaliation, obviously I know that's probably the first thing you come to mind. Like, crap, what are they going to do back? But what are you thinking about them in that moment?
I'm thinking, like, what the hell are you guys thinking?
Yeah, okay.
Right.
It's interesting, because I'm wondering, continue.
It's just like, what are you guys thinking? Like I said, you killed 3 Israeli teenagers in 2014, and they invaded over that, then you must know that if you launch this sort of attack, they're going to do a hell of a lot worse in terms of retaliation, right? So it's just like, it baffles me.
Is there like anger is not you. You're not an angry guy. But is there like an animosity? Is there like a frustration part of it where you're like, oh, like
listen, in a war between 2 armies, go crazy, kill yourselves. Yeah. Right? That's war. We've had war since the beginning of mankind. Yeah. Right? And that's never going to stop. Right? So what I feel is just utter sadness. Right? Cuz like I said, we've seen this time and time again. We see the Palestinian civilians suffering on both sides, even Israeli civilians, right? Civilians dying just sucks. Yeah. Right? It's not going to get us anywhere. In Islam, we have our own laws of war. Can't kill civilians, primarily women and children, being, you know, the most terrible thing that you can do. Yeah. Obviously, if it's in a war, then it's, you know, it's fine because it's a war. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to innocent people that haven't done anything, then that's just messed up. All right. But it's just sad to see civilians on both sides suffer.
So does Hamas not really follow that?
I mean, I want to say some do and some don't. I saw some footage when the war broke out. They invaded a house in Israel, Hamas. And they said to the soldiers, leave her. She's a woman with kids. And they left her alone. Right? Another video I saw was the group went into another house. The lady was home with her kids. And they're like, don't worry, we're not going to hurt you. They just sat down. They were actually super polite about it. It was like funny in a messed up way. Mm-hmm. Because the lady that was her house. Yep. She even said it herself. She was like, they were super nice. They came into the house. I mean, they had RPGs and guns and balaclavas all over their face, and they sat down. They're like, "Don't worry, we're not gonna hurt you. We're just chilling." They saw a banana, and they asked the lady, "They're like, can I eat that banana? Like, may I have it?" She's like, "Sure, go ahead." They ate the banana. They, I don't know, probably used the bathroom or something, and then they left. It's like, it's sort of funny in like such a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got your arm to the teeth. You can easily kill her and her 2 kids that were in the room, but you didn't. You just walk in, being mad, super polite, asked to eat a banana, chilled for a little bit, and then you left. So I'm not saying that everybody is like that.
Right.
There are, like, there's good apples, there's bad apples. So I don't know. It was weird.
Do you find yourself looking at a lot of like the videos? I know some of them are like horrific.
Yeah.
Like, do you like consume a lot of that, or do you try not to?
I've sort of become like sort of desensitized to most of the footage.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my Instagram feed is there's this one large Palestinian page that reports directly from Palestine.
Oh really?
So it's called Eye on Palestine. I can send you it on Instagram after. So I've seen a lot of footage, and honestly, I've been seeing it my whole life. When I go there, last time I went in 2021, actually like a few weeks after we had our first podcast, I went to a protest. I don't know how I ended. I was eating dessert in the middle of the city, and then I just heard gunshots outside. So I go outside, and there's clashes and flashbangs going off, and tear gas. I tried tear gas for the first time. It sort of stung. So that's actually that's a funny story, because when I got hit with the tear gas, there was some Palestinian grandma just chilling. She's sitting outside with a bottle of Coca-Cola. She's like, "Offer me Coca-Cola." I'm like, "I don't need Coca-Cola right now. I'm like dying from tear gas." Apparently, you're supposed to use Coca-Cola to like rub out your eyes. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So she was she's 100 something. She's seen it all, so she knows what to do. But yeah.
Yeah. What do you? I know, like, when literally anything happens, I listen to my parents talk. Not just about like this idea. Actually, specifically not about this because they don't know anything.
Yeah.
But when it's like something in the country or like something politically, Republican, Democrat, I listen to my parents, and like I like to just hear how wrong they are all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Do you feel like when you talk to some of your relatives, maybe people that are in the not wrong? I don't want to be rude, but like people that are in the middle of it. They're picking a side because it's life or death. Yep. Do you like? What is that feeling like? Like, it's like you have to talk to some family that's maybe supporting something that you might be like, well, logistically, but then that's not valid to them. The logistics.
It comes down to different perspectives, right? Obviously, growing up in America, I have a completely different perspective from somebody who lives in Palestine. I see both sides. I have different mindset, and on top of that, I didn't grow up through that, right? So I'm not running around shouting death to Israel, stuff like that, right? But there are people in Palestine who support Hamas or the other side of the government, right? There are people who in Palestine didn't have it as hard as other people did, right? So they might be PLO supporters, the Palestinian Liberation Organization.
Yeah.
The more democratic, friendly Western government. Yeah. Like my cousins, for example. Some of them are PLO. And there's other people, obviously, in Gaza. Right, they see Israel attacking you, right? Then they're gonna support Hamas, right? Mm-hmm. So it comes down to how you grew up in completely different perspectives.
Yeah. Do you feel like there is? Not do you feel like? Let me retract that. Is there like a PLO response? Because I feel like Hamas obviously taking so much forefront. Is there like a PLO like? Has anybody said anything? Like, I had no idea.
Yeah, the Palestinian president said, in a nutshell, what Hamas did was wrong, right? At the same time, PLO and Hamas hate each other.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Does that make it difficult to make any is there even progress to be made? And then if there is, does it make it difficult to have progress as like a people?
It definitely makes it. They completely hate each other. Like, they went to war over this.
Okay.
So safe to say they don't.
Yeah, they don't like each other.
And then he came out later and said, "What Israel is doing is wrong. This is just like mass killing."
Mm-hmm.
So
they're just kind of saying what's going on.
Yeah,
not really.
It's all over the place.
And then, so now I don't really know what the next few weeks is supposed to look like, or what we think it will look like. What do you see, or what have you heard? Obviously, because you don't.
Yeah.
It's not like you're.
It's
CIA,
tough to.
But
yeah.
What do you think?
Might be.
And if you are, dude, this is a good way to get your message out. But yeah,
it's tough to say. There's rumors that there's going to be a ground invasion, right? You don't amass 300,000 troops and all your tanks for no reason, right? We saw that in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. Russians had 100,000 troops on the border. They said, "Oh, we're not going to invade. What are you guys talking about?" And then they invaded the next day, right? So, you got 300,000 Israeli troops on the Gaza border. I think it's going to be very deadly for both sides, because urban warfare is completely different from, what was happening in Afghanistan, right? This is cities, a lot of places to hide, booby traps, anti-tank mines, people in buildings with RPGs that can obliterate your tanks in seconds. So it's definitely going to be bloody on both sides. And it very well could expand into a regional war, which could involve Hezbollah, which is in Lebanon. Mm-hmm. Just like how Palestine has the PLO and Hamas, you have like the Lebanese government and Hezbollah.
Yeah.
Right. So
am I wrong with what is like Iran?
Iran too.
Involvement with
with Hamas.
Hamas.
Yeah, Iran is backing Hezbollah, which is like the Hamas version in Lebanon. So that's the north of Israel, and they're also backing Hamas in Gaza. On top of that, you have the people of the surrounding countries. Now, the governments are friendly with Israel, doesn't mean the people are, right? Jordan had 1 million people marching in the streets to send them all to Palestine to fight in a war, right? Just because it's all anger.
Yeah.
In Egypt, there are people rallying to, go to war with Israel. The United States deployed 2 carrier groups to the Mediterranean. The USS Ford, which is like the most largest advanced aircraft carrier, that's there. F-35s are there. The most advanced U.S. Air Force jets are there. Iran said to Israel, if you go into Gaza, we're going to declare war on you, which is probably bad for the whole world.
Yeah.
Because Israel has nukes and Iran says they don't have nukes, but I think they have nukes. You got people in Yemen, in Saudi Arabia.
Ugh.
You got the whole Muslim world pretty much pissed off at Israel.
Yep.
Right. So it very well could lead to a whole new regional war. And that would be very, very bad for... I mean, obviously, Americans are going to back Israel. Mm-hmm. Right? They're our greatest ally in the Middle East. So you're throwing in U.S. troops there already. Right? You're going to have Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan. All of them are going to declare war on Israel. This is what I'm thinking, by the way.
Yeah.
And obviously the Gulf states have control of our oil. So if you go to war, then, gas prices are going to go up. Which on the grand scheme of things isn't, it's not the worst thing to happen, but...
But it's just like, you want to know what the saddest part about it is? Why I laugh? I laugh because things are crazy. Like that, a president here is going to try to avoid this at all costs.
Yep.
Not because someone might die.
But because you don't want...
But because they're like, well, if the gas prices go up while I'm in office, it's going to look bad. Mm-hmm. Dead serious. That is like probably a thought with whoever's going to win next for us. Oh, God.
So...
This place is screwed up.
It could very well end up into a regional war. Mm-hmm. And the U.S. just sent their new command and control ship, which has like a direct line to Washington, D.C., like the Pentagon.
Yep.
And you don't send that ship to an area without knowing some shit is about to go down.
Did we also, I think I saw Biden tweet something about support we're sending into Gaza?
Yeah, he announced some aid.
Yeah. $100 million for aid.
Like humanitarian aid.
To just all residents of Gaza?
I think it's just like in terms of like food, medical supplies, stuff like that. He also announced like another something billion for Israel. So he's, that's like military aid, by the way.
Yeah, it's so fascinating that I feel like, whether you agree with it or not, I don't know if you're willing to say it, but like why do we back Israel so adamantly? Because I feel like all I know from I grew up with you. I've talked to you twice now. Yeah. I've never had someone that's is on the Israel side of things on the podcast. So I'm just gonna trust it. But like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why is the backing for Israel?
It's a good question. I think
not that it needs to be in Palestine's favor either, but like, why are we so adamant about backing Israel?
Because I think Israel is like more of a democracy compared to all the other countries in the region.
Yeah, okay. So it's just political.
Syria has had a family-run dictatorship for the longest time. Saudi Arabia is literally a family that controls the country.
Those people that have like unlimited money, right?
Unlimited money. I think their net worth unofficially is like $1 trillion.
That's insane.
Yeah, they're literally, Saudi Arabia is literally like, in Arabic, in English it's like the House of Saud. It's Saud.
Oh really?
Yeah, Saud is the family name.
No, really.
So the country is called House of Saud.
And the Saud family is.
Saud family is the. Family
it's like their
that's
home.
In charge of the country. Yeah.
I did not know that. So that's why they have so much money.
That's why they have so much money. On top of the oil, but it's a family run.
Well, the oil is what.
Yeah. It's a family run business, pretty much.
But that's why, like, there's interesting.
Yeah.
The House of Saud. Wow. Okay. All right. And then
Jordan, it's a kingdom, right? Their official name is like Kingdom of Jordan.
Oh, okay.
So you got the kingdom. Egypt is dictatorship. Israel is like the only country that has a democracy, and I think it was just mutual benefit. So the U.S. can have a presence in Israel, in the region, to counteract, Russia's placement in Syria. It's like the only country that they're friends with in the region.
Yeah.
On super friendly ties.
Yep.
So I think that's why we backed them, so we can have a presence in the region that is West. And Israel's a young country. Before 1940, it didn't exist.
Yeah,
right?
It was Palestine, right? Or the Ottoman.
British. It used to be Ottoman, then it was British mandated Palestine, then Palestine, then wars, and now it's Israel and Palestine. So, the United States practically raised Israel, right? In terms of funding of the military, infrastructure, whatnot. So it's our child.
Yeah, is that why didn't we move our the embassy?
Yeah.
To a strictly Israel.
It used to be in Tel Aviv, the U.S. embassy,
which is a little more.
Which is which is under Israelis' control.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to go into specifics, the whole Palestine is occupied, but that's Israeli country.
Yeah.
Right. Jerusalem, where all three major religions clash.
Oh, really? So it's
he moved it to Jerusalem.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So is that? What did you think of that?
I mean, me personally, I was like, okay, whatever. What can we do?
Semantics. Yeah.
Right. A lot of people got mad because Jerusalem is supposed to be under UN rule ever since one of the wars, where the UN controls it.
Mm-hmm.
So the Palestinians don't control it, Israelis don't control it. But after the war, Israel took it over, and now they control it.
So he was trying to say this is Israel.
Exactly, yeah. So,
cunt. That's kind of tough.
It was more of just a sucker type of move.
Yeah. And then, all right, I got one more little bit of a question for you, and then we can wrap it up. Wow. Okay. But we can wrap it up after. I'm just wondering where. I might even cut this out because I feel like that was a good little ending. But I'm wondering, where did you get the idea and not the idea? Where did you get the motivation to have some good military knowledge and understanding? And also, I feel like because I know the way you speak about some of these things, you're very knowledgeable, and political understanding. And is it rooted in in being Palestinian? You think, or is there
a little bit?
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty.
What was it?
I only know how to use guns because of Call of Duty.
Of course. Don't we all?
I know how to shoot an RPG because of Call of Duty.
If they put us all into, all us Call of Duty players, they got a good little army.
Yeah.
If we all felt like it, because we know more than any generation prior ever did. Do we got the muscle? Probably not. No. But we know more than definitely. All these other generations. If we ever did do a draft, they'd be fucked. Yeah, whoever else would be fucked. Because we have COD.
If we go to war with China or Russia, I'd just be shouting scoreboard the whole time.
Scoreboard. But yeah, where'd you get the
it's
the military understanding or political understanding?
Political understanding. I mean, I've always heard my parents talk about it growing up because they've gone through their own wars. 2008, I was in second grade. there was another war going on, so my parents were always watching the news, so obviously that's where it sort of started. It was actually sort of like 6th grade, Mr. Villard's class.
Yeah.
And he taught geography, and it just like sort of opened up my eyes to the whole world.
Yep.
So from there, it sort of expanded. No, Mr. Villard was 7th grade. Sorry.
He was. Yeah.
Mrs. Bordenaro sort of taught us like ancient world history, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, was.
She passed away. Rest in peace.
I know. I heard. Rest in peace.
So 6th grade sort of opened up my eyes to like all the ancient world stuff and how everything came together. What was that city that, like the first like major city?
Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia. Yeah.
First major civilization.
Yeah. So that opened up my eyes. Geography opened up my eyes a lot more. 8th grade was more like U.S. history, so I never really paid attention.
Yeah.
I hated that class.
U.S. history is like so recent that it's just like...
it was just like it's so boring compared to like...
It's been like 250 years, but the rest of the world has like, thousands and thousands of years.
I hated that class. And then like getting into world history with Miss McMahon and taking a contemporary issues class with Mr. McMahon.
Yes.
It opened up my eyes. And in the meantime, like throughout that, I was going through like just learning so much more, and military always interested me. The technology, the weaponry, tactics, like all that stuff. I really wanted to join the army. My mom never let me.
Happy about that?
A little bit sometimes.
Yeah. Yep.
I like it'd be interesting to see like where all my life would have gone through. So like I was always reading up on the military and like I said, the tactics and weaponry. So it's always been like something that's definitely interested me. World conflicts and wars I've always been paying attention to. And just that, like going through when I worked at Raytheon too, being exposed to so much technology that they built and what they do behind the scenes, it's always opened up my eyes. It's something that's always been interesting to me. Like, I was never interested in social English or math. It was always like social studies, world history, conflicts, how all these like have like everlasting effects in the world. Like we've seen today, World War II is partly the reason why we have this war happening right now. The British Empire is why the Middle East is a mess. They divided up the Middle East, right, without accounting for the different sects within Islam. So like how in Christianity, I think there's like Orthodox, there's Catholicism, Protestants. So imagine that in Islam, but everybody hates each other and they want to kill each other.
Right.
And if you look at the map of Middle East, there's perfect straight lines. And why they're perfect straight lines? It's because people in Europe took a ruler and a pencil and literally drew it on a ruler. Like, okay, this country will be Jordan. This country will be Syria. Within Syria, you have the Kurds who didn't get a country. In Iraq, you have the Shiites and the Sunnites who hate each other and want to kill each other. And then you have Iraq and Iran, which Iraq is a majority Sunni country and Iran's a majority Shia country. Right, so two different sects within Islam that want to kill each other.
Of course. And it's just like a lack of paying attention.
Yep.
And like diligence, like it's just like a definitely like something that wouldn't work today.
Yeah. I
feel like the best thing to come from like a social media era, like a very information flowing era, is that there's the checks and balances go beyond just like the people at the top that like have no sense of understanding.
Yep.
It's just like a lot of these things are way before this time, know, and if you like this division that you have between a lot of these like Middle Eastern countries is because a bunch of white guys drew up the fence. It's just crazy. Literally. And then even just like Palestine, Israel as well. It's like it's just like hey, we'll give you this. We're gonna give you guys this. All right, go for it. And then they just let two sides. It's like it's the promised land. It's more like it's the promised.
So it's just
land.
It's never ending. It's gonna keep going. And honestly, the only thing that unites the Muslim world is the issue of Palestine.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we saw it just in the last week. All these countries are rallying against Israel. Right. So everybody hates each other. But the one thing that unites everybody is Palestine.
Is hating Israel. That's kind of funny.
So
That's funny.
It's tough. It's never gonna end. I mean, it's been happening 70 years. So.
Right. But hopefully you all learned something.
Yeah.
In this time, at least you get to learn a little bit. This is not an isolated incident, and it will probably more to come.
This could. I'll probably see you in like 2 years again.
Yeah, I'll see you in a couple of years, man.
Yep.
Hopefully under some better circumstances. Yep. It's hard to have worse circumstances than this. This is a tough one. So, but I appreciate you coming on and talking about this, Malik. I know it's not easy, and I know that there's a lot that you need to work around, and it's difficult to be you sometimes in a place like this or going back to see family.
Well, one more thing is
please.
I work with a youth program, right? Yeah. And this youth program, I'm in charge of like 30 kids, and then which is like the high school boys, and there's like middle school boys, which is like another 30 or so kids. And last Saturday, we gathered them all into a room for our lecture, which is part of the program. And we're asking them, how has this last week been for you guys, right? And obviously everybody in this room is Muslim. And a large majority of them were raising their hands. And they were raising their hands because they're facing hate at school. So Islamophobia, getting called terrorists. One kid I know lost a majority of his friends, right? Because he lives in a predominantly Jewish school system, Newton. Yep. So, obviously, you're Jewish, you're going to support Israel. I mean, there are some people that support Palestine, right? Or a two-state solution. So, and kids, they're uneducated. They don't have all the perspectives.
Yep.
But it's the same thing as 9/11 or the Boston bombings, right? Where the media is reporting one side of the conversation. Somebody did something bad. These are the bad people. You're gonna get hate for it. So a lot of these kids, I say about 90% of them, face some sort of hate. Probably 2 of them are only Palestinian, right? So now you're just getting Islamophobia, you're getting hatred, bullying, harassment, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You have Muslim girls that wear the hijab are getting harassed on the streets. I know a girl, somebody put something on her car. It says like "Long live Israel" or something like that. So it's times like these where there's stuff happening overseas, but it has a direct effect to what's happening here in America. Yeah. So it's sad to see. I've gone through it after the Boston bombings.
I was gonna say.
Even growing up, after 9/11, right? I was born in February 2001, right? So growing up, there was still that mindset of Muslims are terrorists, and I was born here, and like I said at the beginning, I don't have a suicide vest on. Yeah, right. Nothing. I'm your average American guy, did 4 years in college, went to American high school, whatever. So, I grew up with that post 9/11, especially having a weird name compared to all the other kids, right? Abdul Malik, present. Yeah. Remember?
Present.
Or even every single teacher, Malik, is Malik here? I'd be like, oh no, it's Malik.
It's Malik, yeah.
So, growing up after 9/11, that's what I went through. It started to die off, then boom, Boston bombings happened, and the whole hatred, Islamophobia comes back. Yep. Especially it being in Boston, right? I remember I got into a fight over this at 6th grade. It was actually with, who was it with? I think it was David Johnson.
Probably.
It was Dave Johnson. Yeah.
Who was also on the podcast one time.
I watched that one. Yeah, it was great to see him.
Yeah, he's a funny dude.
So Boston bombings happen, the whole Islamophobia comes back, and then it sort of like dies off again, and now you have the whole war that in Palestine and Israel that has everybody's attention. So now it's coming back again. So it's tough to see. It's not affecting me directly
as much as
but I know a lot of people that are still going through it.
Yeah, a lot of young people.
It's sad.
Yeah, it definitely is sad. I don't, there's no room for anything like that. Mm-hmm. Especially me being someone that's like, I love to spread the positivity, spread the love. So, if you can, spread some love. It don't gotta be to even a Muslim person. Just spread some love. Maybe they someone that would have been said something a little out of pocket. Maybe they got a little more love in their heart. Yep. And they won't. That's just the way that I think. But yeah, man, I my heart's with you. My heart's with your family, and and my heart's with all the people anybody that's lost anyone or had any issues. Yeah. I know yours is too. Hopefully we don't have to do this again too soon. But It was wonderful to have you on. Did you enjoy as much as you could your time on the DOD-Cast for the second time in a row?
Yeah, I feel honored to be back.
Yeah, you're one of a few. There's probably only like 3 people that have been on twice.
Yeah,
maybe 4. So
maybe another. I'll see you in 2 years.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
we'll see.
yeah. Again, let's hope not. But yeah, Malik, thank you very much for coming on, my friend. I appreciate it. Hopefully you all learned a little something. I know I did. And yeah, 107 in the books. Peace out, everybody.